Call this meeting to order. All stand face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Britton Luther.
Present.
R.J. Donovan.
Here.
Tim Yoko, I'm here. Approval of minutes.
Motion to approve minutes as corrected.
Second the motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approval of claims.
Motion to approve claims.
Second the motion.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approval of payroll.
Make a motion to approve payroll.
Second the motion to approve payroll.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, public comment. If you want to have a public comment, please come up here, identify yourself, and give you 3 minutes or so.
Only 3?
Maybe let you go 5, but
Okay,
Where's our
all
we got
right.
it. We got
So,
something here we hit when it goes too far.
Where's that timer at, Kylie? We can flip knobs.
so Vermilion Trails Alliance is
brought the other one.
doing some great things. I did leave a flyer up there with each of you for an upcoming event that we have, Over the River and Through the Woods 5K. And this is a very family-friendly event. We'll have a farmer's market vendor fair, and so it'll be great. Hopefully you guys can come. So we are making progress on the, well, we'll call it the B&O Trail, right, officially, from Montezuma to Hillsdale, and then the connection south. So I'm going to turn it over to Tom to explain more about a hiccup that we have had, but we're confident that we can get through this.
So once we get
Wait a
through...
minute. Can I ask you to give us an update
Yes.
on the money we appropriated for the ads, if you could?
Oh, okay. I sent that in an email to all of you. We did get 10 events in there for the Indiana State Festival Association booklet. So they weren't some of them that we were originally planning, but I learned in doing that 3 of the events are not going to happen in 2024, unfortunately. So that have been long-standing events in the county. So
Appreciate your help on that.
you're welcome. I'm going to turn it over to Tom now.
So what I understand, I hope I'm correct, is like something like 40 years ago, there was a foreclosure on property down there by FMHA or somebody, and what I will classify as federal government overreach. where
You're
they-
talking about, tell me what the property you're talking about.
Okay, and we'll get to that. Through that process, when they did that, why then they established a conservation easement that goes along Raccoon Creek. Well, then right there at Raccoon Creek, where we've got the money to build a bridge to get across Raccoon Creek, out across the river bottoms, and go out to a public crossing. That little part by the creek it has a conservation easement. Can't cut trees, can't build structures or whatever. We were not aware of that. And when the previous work we'd done, all the title work we'd done, nothing showed up. All of a sudden, we've got this deal that where there's a conservation easement. The Fish and Wildlife people came up. You know, it's pretty much, well, you're not building anything on in our place, you know, where we've got a conservation easement. But we have the county, and when I say we, the county owns 1.22 acres on the other side of the railroad. And what we're proposing, and it takes 0.77 acres across that easement, can we do a swap? Okay, and so Roger Azar, our engineer on this, says it was his idea, right? He's really good at what he does, and he says it's going to be a lot easier if it would come from the trail group to do the swap. And he says if you're going to do it from one government entity to another, it's going to make it a lot longer and complicated. What we're proposing is that little 1.22 acres that you own now, that you quit claim that to the trail group. The trail group does the swap for the conservation easement. After the conservation easement is gone and all that stuff, it can be quit claimed back to the commissioners. But during this swap deal, the conservation easement, That's what Roger Azar says, it'd be a lot easier if it wasn't the county that owned it. It's beyond, that's why we hire an engineer that understands what to do, how to handle this. Don't ask me why it's that way, because I don't know.
And it is wetlands. That
and-
1.22 is a wetland
And it's
area.
just a big hole in the ground, I mean.
That was property we swapped out 2 or 3 years ago, and we got that.
Well, that was something that we'll call it an anonymous donor bought from as the Giordano property, and in order to get that one little section of the railroad, I could go into detail about
Right.
that. But anyway, there's it's something that the county owns now. Can we do it? And what we're proposing, if it's, I know you can't vote on this tonight. Can we have John prepare a quitclaim deed to quitclaim it, you approve it next meeting, and then we come back after a few, it's gonna take, I don't know, years, but it's gonna take longer than we want to get this done, then we can quitclaim it back to you.
John, what do you think about that, doing that? Is it illegal?
It's legal, yeah,
Okay.
of course.
During that time, then, it will be owned by the trails, and who's gonna take care, you're gonna be liable for that property in case somebody gets hurt on it during that time.
And it's not, the trail part is not, the Giordano property is not, the trail is not on that property. That is just, and it's just a big hole in the ground. It's.
I'm just saying, if there's a situation
That's
there,
something we-
you guys
yeah,
need to
that-
address.
something we'll have to consider, that's right. I mean, at that point, we would be liable.
And like Tom said, it wasn't purchased by the county, it was purchased by an anonymous donor on behalf of the Trails Alliance and then donated to the county.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy,
I was there.
but then to get something like that done, and I know you can't, but if we could come back the next meeting, maybe then vote on it, that's all we're asking.
Have you talked to DNR about this already?
Well, it's Fish and Wildlife, it's not
Is
really.
it federal or state?
Federal.
Federal.
Okay.
It's worse, right?
At first, it
And
sounded
we
like they
have
wouldn't.
met with them out there, they came
Yeah.
up a couple of weeks ago from Princeton and 2 representatives and we met with them.
At first, it seemed pretty bleak.
And now we found a little bit of a workaround. It seemed very bleak at first, and this is our best chance at doing a workaround to get this done. They're not very flexible, are they?
Nope.
No, so if we can pull this off, we're gonna get our bridge across there.
Motion to proceed, or what's your thoughts?
I don't have any objection bringing it back to the next meeting, Tom, sharing
Okay.
whatever information you guys have so we can digest it before the next meeting.
Yeah, well, thank you.
I think it's very plausible, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you guys do. Anybody else with public comment? You can do it now, or you can do it at the end. There's 2 times that public comment will be open.
There's going to be a meeting tomorrow night.
Identify yourself, who you are.
Clayton Sanquinetti.
Okay, thank you.
There's going to be a meeting tomorrow night at the Operating Engineers 841. Representatives with Wabash Valley Resources is going to be there. They're going to explain their process and their intentions. I live out probably a half a mile from the well site. A lot of people have not been notified over this that's going on, and I kind of like to see the commissioner's support and maybe write a letter to the EPA or something to
When is it?
The deadline is
No, I mean, when is the meeting?
tomorrow night, 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Operating Engineers, 841 in Peabody.
Okay.
The deadline for the EPA is the 21st. That's when they're going to close out, as of right now, that's when they're going to close out the
I have
time
requested them to
comments.
come have a meeting here, and I haven't heard back from them. I'm gonna check
Yeah.
in with them again tomorrow.
Yeah.
We will be having a public meeting. I'm trying to get with zoning and set up a public meeting, because I think that people in the community need to have their time.
For sure.
And representation of the other side should be here too, so.
sure.
Do you know
that's
what-
in the works.
Sorry, Tim. Do you know what time that deadline is Monday for the EPA?
No, I think it's midnight. I think they
Alright.
said,
Is it 5?
Is that
The deadline
postmarked?
for the EPA on the 21st is 5.
Is that time that
5
it's got to be postmarked or received, or?
By the time it's received, I
Okay.
believe.
I was gonna say, I was talking before the meeting a little bit. I'm in the process of writing an email to the EPA with a lot of concerns that I've heard from the citizens. There's several things that I've heard, like you said, the failure to notify everybody, let alone with some of the other concerns of living close to these things, the pipelines. So I would encourage if anybody has concerns to reach out to me, whether it's email, text, and let me know those concerns, and I will include those in my letter and email to the EPA before Monday.
One of my big concerns is that can Wabash Valley Resources actually produce that much liquid carbon dioxide? And if they can't, and they get a permit for so many million metric tons, are we going to become the carbon hub of
Say the East
Of
Coast
Indiana,
or,
yeah,
or whoever.
yeah.
They're
Because-
limited, as far as I know, the contract's limited to that one source, one site.
It is,
Yeah.
it is limited, we know that
Yeah.
for sure, okay, because there's a lot of, I've never seen anything, I looked at
Yeah.
a lot of bills and everything, and there's nothing that's kind of.
Yeah, and that'd be a question directly for, Wabash Valley. I spoke to someone from Wabash Valley before my meeting, and it's been tough to get in touch with some of these people. But they did assure me it will be a question and answer tomorrow, so I'm kind of the glass is half full. They're going to be there and they're going to answer all these concerns and hopefully, give truthful and, honest answers to all these things. But yeah, if you have anything, if you want to put it in writing to me, I'll include that in my email to the EPA before Monday.
Awesome, thank you guys.
Did
So
you
we will
to
have a
read
public
the
meeting here,
statute?
Paul.
Did you have to read the statute that Indiana passed? Have you read that through?
Yeah, I think it's HR 491.
I don't remember.
So
the
it was
number on
HR 1209, I believe, that went over for the entire state, okay? And it set all the standards and everything for carbon sequestration wells. And then they modified HR 491 just for Vermilion and Vigo counties. They took all the
That's the one.
liability,
Yeah.
The state's
all the
taking
liability away and took away all local government enforcement of
Yeah.
zoning and everything, so.
Well, and like I had a phone call today, like I told someone else, this project had started back in 2019 in the State House, with
Yeah.
the eminent domain, so this has been a project that the state leaders, unfortunately, Tim had mentioned last meeting, we were very prudent to make sure, local zoning, we have public meetings, and it seems like the state had, left a lot of us out of the loop. In 2019, I was on the county council, and I don't remember hearing anything about this project
Yeah, and-
whatsoever.
And in that same bill, when they went through all that stuff, they said there was going to be a time for public comment, which I don't know of anybody around here that's ever got to comment publicly on that.
Well, and
I was there the other night, public comment.
yeah, at the EPA, at the
Yeah.
at the EPA thing. Well, and I understand they're having another meeting the 22nd at
And
Fayette
that's
Elementary.
a day after the deadline.
Yeah,
How
so
convenient.
so that there doesn't work out. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try to get this email sent out. By the end of this week, because I'd like to request at least a 30-day extension. Because if you're going to allow public comment, it doesn't make any sense to allow it and then the deadline's the day before. I mean, to me that's just a kick in the face to the citizens and the people. I mean, why even show up if your comments aren't going to be heard?
For sure.
So
For sure.
I don't know if 30 days is enough, but at least that would give another public thing for Fayette Elementary School there.
So there's another thing, and I don't know if anybody's interested in it, but I did start a group on Facebook. It's Concerned Citizens Against Wabash Valley Resources. There's a lot of information in there that people are putting in there.
Okay.
I try to limit, I don't want no, garbage in there or anything, but there's a lot of valid things in there that people can read. I've got a lot of things from a lot of different people, and if you guys get time, check it out.
Earlier, notice was sent out to the county commissioners for approval, and I did not approve it. I did not approve it because of what it was. I did not approve it for the process. I mean, the process of working with people is got to be followed where people are informed, and that's a problem. One of the biggest problems we have with doing projects in the county, people need to be informed, and when they're not informed, then it creates a problem.
Yeah.
And I believe that's a big mistake that they've
Yeah.
made. And
So 1209, it had to have like 70% of the people, the landowners and everybody to be for it, and this one just strips all of that. It strips pages. Actually, the Senate bill HR 491 is one page, and then the 1209 is like 11 or 12 pages. So they stripped, basically 10 pages of.
And I don't think the public comment, even the State House, because I was trying to get involved in that, and it seemed like I couldn't get involved in that.
Yeah,
when they had public comment.
it's a shady deal for sure.
And I would encourage people too as well, these are state leaders that authored these bills too, email your state leadership, the ones that authored the bill. I will say for the most part, most of them are pretty receptive to at least answering email. I've had trouble in the past getting some answers from some of them, but if you are repetitive, they do seem to at least reach out, so.
Awesome. Thank you guys for your
Thank you
time.
very much. If we got any more public comment, if we do, I want to get one person out of the way. If I could just take a minute on one of our issues we got here on vacating a public alley. If you want to go ahead and address us, we'll get you guys so he can leave.
Yeah, I don't know what type of material you've got in front of you. What was provided you?
Whatever was emailed
Did you have
to
the
us.
plat?
Yep.
Turn this upside down, I'm sorry, hang on. The whole egg in the nutshell is all we're doing here is this is Briar Hill sub phase 2, which we did all the work.
And
in the county to
I'm
get
part of
that.
this, so I will abstain.
He owns the
from
corner
that.
lot, Tim owns the corner lot.
Object to it.
I said abstain.
So we had put a stub road in there, which we later have determined that we're never going to use. It has not been installed. There's no utilities in it right now. And on lot 10, which is the corner, that's Tim's lot. You've been out there, Britton, haven't you? Come in Oak. This stub road here was never installed. So lot 10 also, for drainage purposes, had an old farm grass waterway running through it to ravine back here on other property that we own that adjoins it. We proposed this proposal here is to do away with this grass waterway and route that water around here to this platted but uninstalled street. Okay.
It also takes the water from the north and northeast.
It takes the water from up here on this corner also, coming down this ditch here. So that's all installed prior to that, but now that we found that grass waterway there, in order to do it, we thought the proper thing to do was to come and ask you to vacate that platted but uninstalled street section there. We notified the neighbors per the statutes. That's what I'm looking for here. Here's the receipts. John can look at them. We had two neighbors, Tim and Mr. Allhands, who I doubt if he's here. Brad's not here. We talked to Brad out there at the site, though. The only other neighbor is Graham that Willie and I own, and my wife. So we did that. We've ran the newspaper notice. Here's the ABC. Here's the actual notice that they sent me. I didn't know they'd do that, but they did. It's down here in the corner. That was ran 13 days ago. I think the statute's 10 days ahead, so that should suffice. And we sent them the two receipts for the notices there, where I mailed in. So I think that's the only other thing we need to do to satisfy the statute on notice to the public. So we're just in front of you. And the other thing along with this is we're going to maintain, we're not just asking you to vacate this totally. As owners, Willie and myself and Briar Hill Sub will maintain a 15-foot easement through the center of that for the drainage ditch. And then the rest of the ground will be deeded to the adjoining owners, him half of the remainder and Mr. Allhands the other half of that. So that's what it amounts to. I'll be happy to take any questions that you've got.
I don't have any.
That doesn't show up, what your indication of a 15-foot easement or 15-foot buffer?
I had trouble with that myself. The surveyor.
He's here.
Survey, this
He's
is-
back there.
Huh?
Surveyor's back here.
Oh, there's Roger, yeah. I didn't know he's put numbers here with references.
We're talking about this drainage easement,
Yeah.
but it doesn't show up on the plot.
Well, it comes through here. We're retaining this in the description, legal description he wrote. It's retained.
Is that 30 foot there between those? It's just on number 4.
It's 15 feet centered on the center line of that vacated street. So centered on it, you got 15 feet on each side, it'd be 30 feet. That's number 2. There should be another 2. Here's the other 2.
And there's
So if you want me to mark on there, I can show you where the 30 will.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Then the remainder of that is that's left over goes to the adjoining owners.
Is there a definition what the why are you gonna maintain a drainage easement on the private property?
It's the property we own.
But why wouldn't Tim and whoever, the adjoining
Well,
owners?
because of the rest of the lots in the subdivision, there's other lots that drain through the ditch that will also drain down through there. So in order to maintain some control over that, if we deeded all that to Brad and Tim, then if they decide they want to change that, we're up the tree. So we are.
I know. I don't think they can do that if it's a conservation easement, though.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not an expert on conservation easements. I thought they were a different animal.
You can talk to the surveyor, he's back in the corner if you want to.
I don't necessarily have, I don't think I have a problem with this, but except that it doesn't define who a 30-foot width utility drainage easement to be retained along the west side, but retained by who? Is there an HOA there of some sort?
No, it's not an HOA yet, because they never set it up.
Well, there's no entity defined.
Would be the original, well,
No, it isn't, because that's
no, I'm
county.
just thinking,
Come on up. Come on.
while Roger's coming up, there's one thing that crossed my mind. I'm not sure that was ever dedicated to the county. The county road that's installed in phase 2,
It probably
was
wasn't,
dedicated.
because
Yeah,
it's not
probably.
completed. Well,
Yeah.
maybe not. If there's a subdivision,
I don't know
it could have
how it
been.
got written.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. I probably was out of town when that
Mr.
happened.
Meyer, or is a surveyor, you got something you want to add to this?
The right-of-way which being requested to vacate is currently county property. The existing ditch on the north-south road will drain westerly through this proposed 30-foot easement, 15-foot each side center. So it should be a public drainage easement owned by the public, like all other easements are public property.
I understand what you're saying.
And that would be
The
fine
problem
with us
is that
also.
we're dedicating this over, but the county's gotta maintain it, though. That's the
The
issue.
county would want to be able to maintain this ditch, to maintain drainage for the north-south road. So it's retaining an easement. Typically, when
How was this
a right-of-way is
subdivided?
vacated,
How was this subdivided? What,
There are covenants, to answer your question, I think that covered, I think the adjoining neighbors are still supposed to cut the grass on it and maintain it. I think that's built into the covenants, the subdivision covenants. I know it is. I don't have.
I understand
a
what
copy
you're
with me.
saying, Roger. It's not that, though. It's, there had to be, if there was a utility easement before, it had to be there before, or should have been there before in some place through there, whether it's through the property or not. Otherwise, we're establishing a new one, and it should have existed before this.
the entire right-of-way, by default, was an easement, public easement. So
By the plat, when we,
right-of-way is a easement. So you're not changing anything except that as far as the drainage easement, it by default it currently exists because of the right-of-way. So you're retaining that part of that easement.
I thought this was gonna be simpler than it is.
It was.
I understand what you're saying.
It was.
I understand what you're saying. I'm not sure this does.
If you want more discussion, we can table till next week. I don't have a problem. I just want to move on.
I have no problem approving it tonight, but if there's no second, there's no reason to make a motion. I think, Tim, you're going to abstain from it, correct?
Yeah.
So if you're not prepared to second it, then I won't make a motion for it, for the approval.
I'd like to get a little more information on that if we can wait till the next meeting. I don't have a problem with this going through, but I have a little bit of a problem of it being dedicated, property line being moved over and then retaining an easement on property that, I don't think this is an easement, or can you
He said it was
say that?
county property, correct? You
Tim,
researched
you
it?
can't really participate in this.
Okay.
This is something that you need, or you're saying this wasn't county property, it was never dedicated to the county, but then you said it was earlier.
It was dedicated per the plat.
Mm-hmm,
It was never improved.
mm-hmm.
So the plat dedicated the right of way
I could show you on this if you'd like for
to
me.
the county.
Mhm.
And the adjoining easements were also dedicated to the county for public use.
What easements? There's a defined easement in this? I didn't read it.
30 feet north and 30 feet south of the unimproved right-of-way is a dedicated public utility drainage easement.
That already exists.
Exists per the plat.
Okay, so it's not something we're changing, it's already exists.
Those two easements exist.
Okay.
So
Well,
we're
that-
asking to vacate those easements because they won't be needed and move it all to a 30-foot easement centered in the current right-of-way.
Okay, so I'm a little surprised that it does that, but okay, if that's the way it is. I'm surprised there's an easement already defined in there and a drainage easement as well. Usually subdivisions don't go to that pain. I'm glad they did.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
proper.
It's,
Our surveyor was out of Vigo County at that time, so. he
It's a
was-
proper way of doing it, sure. And I understand what you're doing. So we're changing the easement to a 30-foot easement,
Correct.
and vacating the remainder of the right-of-way.
Mhm.
we're vacating the right-of-way as
And
right-of-way.
maintain the easement. We're just redefining the easement at this point, and
redefining
vacating the
the
right-of-way.
easement.
Okay, I understand. I'm surprised that it got done that way. That's good. Go ahead and make your motion.
Cool. If there's no other further discussion, I'll make a motion to approve the petition to vacate public alley or street of right-of-way and/or public easement presented tonight.
Second the motion. As surveyed.
Call for a vote.
Call for the, discussion.
Done.
Call for the vote. Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Pass.
Thank you.
We will
Thank you.
get deeds prepared for the remainder that goes back to the adjoining neighbors, and I'll get them to the auditor's office, and they can put them in the next meeting, if that's okay.
I appreciate you doing it by survey instead of by attorneys. So, that is a reflection on attorneys.
Okay.
We'll get back to, thank you all. We'll get back to public comment. Didn't mean to hold you guys up, but
Thank you, Roger, for
But,
the explanation.
there was two that walked out. I don't know if they would still want to participate. They can participate at the end if they didn't have a chance to. Anybody else, public comment before we move on to the agenda? You can also comment at the end, so I'm sure you still got another chance. We had a proposed ordinance of certificate of investigation of death, and that was sent to us by Mr. Weed. I'd read that, and I brought it up, and we want to maybe discuss that tonight. And then, if you want to talk about that, Brett,
Which one are we on now?
very first one.
A, okay. I'll just briefly mention it, but we won't be able to have a first reading because it's not
No,
been drafted yet.
just
but
discussion.
Primarily what it is that the coroner, the county, through the coroner, is having to do autopsies that are not necessarily warranted by statute. And because of that, it's costing the county up to about $30,000 plus or minus a year, every year that's been going on. And what this does is basically, it reinforces the statute or supplements the statute, if you will. And with that, though, it also allows the county to recover the funds that we shouldn't have had to pay to do these autopsies as far as the county's concerned. So it puts the onus back on the responsible parties. That is yet to be defined, and the ordinance will be drafted hopefully for next week. And with that, we'll be able to have our first reading and a second reading then. But that's the essence of it.
But don't it also place the responsibility on the participating physician of that person to do that instead of the coroner who doesn't know
The statute,
about that
yeah,
person?
that kind of says that. The statute clearly says that and I can't remember the terms, I'd have to go back to but the responsible physician or the physician of record is the one who's supposed to be making these determinations. There's autopsies being conducted that don't necessarily need to be conducted. And because of this, physicians are not necessarily doing their duty. There's certain statutes, I think, is clear as to what those situations are, and as long as they follow those, then there's not a problem. If they don't follow those, then the county ends up picking up the bill. So that's what the statute allows is that follow the statute, and if you put it back on the county, then effectively you're going to reimburse the county for that autopsy and the administration of that autopsy.
John, can you look at that between now and next meeting? RJ, you got anything you want to
I
comment
don't
on
think
that?
John's had a chance.
Yeah,
Have
that's
you
what I'm
had a
saying.
chance much to look at it, John?
No, the email you sent me said with the concurrence of one other commissioner work on this.
Yeah,
So I just kind of waited to hear from
I should have got hold of you
somebody
earlier,
else
or
and
one of
did
us,
work
but
on it.
Yeah, I have no objection with it. I think it's a good thing for the county, so.
okay. We are at disaster emergency declaration, June the 29th storm event. You want to cover that, Mark?
We had Mark O'Hare, Vermillion County MA. We had the storm on June 29th. We have turned in so far about $85,000 worth of damages, and that was as of about 3 weeks ago. I think the city of Clinton has finally finished their cleanups. I'm pretty sure the county highways finished theirs. Sheriff's Department turned in their prices. They were about $3,000. But if this claim goes through, that will not be included. That was Category B. And if this is a state disaster relief fund, there won't be any Category B. They don't pay that. As of today, I've spoken to the Department of Homeland Security's mitigation people. They don't know where this funding is coming from. And I spent some time today talking to the liaison for this part of the state, and she doesn't know where the money's coming from. What they're telling me to do is just gather all the documentation and be ready to submit it, because typically on Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock, they say on Monday morning you have to have this submitted. And so we need to get it put together. We do have a good part of it already. From the auditor's office, I will need pay scales for county highway employees, the same thing from the city of Clinton's clerk treasurer. And then I just need timesheets from everybody. And we do have some of the timesheets put together already, and we have a spreadsheet put together with all the stuff that they claim. So in the end, what we would turn in is this spreadsheet that has day by day the work that was done, where that work was done, all those things are on the spreadsheet, and then we'd have timesheets tied to each one of those items and the pay scale, and that should be anything that they need. State Disaster Relief Fund will only pay 50%, but they do pay for more items. We can get in like some generators and stuff like that maybe on there.
So we'll probably recoup 50% of the 80,000.
Right. Well, I got a feeling in the end we're going to be somewhere up around the 120 range, so we'd be looking at getting like $60,000, but it's more than nothing, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And for the people who don't understand what we're talking about, the governor declared a state disaster, but it's not a statewide disaster, so it's not a FEMA claim.
Like 5 counties or something, wasn't it?
I think it was 7. Well, there was like 5 counties in this area, and there was the 2 counties down south for the June 25th tornadoes that they put together. And so what we're doing, what this disaster is the county is declaring that we had a disaster. It's a pretty simple form. It's dated as of the 3rd of July, and it's being signed on today's date. It's just a formality to get us in on the process, because that's one of the things they're going to ask for is a declaration.
The Parks Department turn anything in? Stuff from the Parks Department.
Okay.
Those trees.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Motion that we approve disaster emergency declaration dated July 3rd, 2033.
2023.
20, yeah, let's do that date.
You predicting a disaster. Mark it on the calendar. There might be one in 23.
People do that, you know.
Yeah, they.
Anyway, this is for the
It's the
29th
Twilight
of
Zone.
June,
Yeah.
2023.
I'll second Britton's motion.
I don't think we have any further discussion. Call for a vote.
Aye.
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 Brendan, I need to get a
Thank
copy
you,
of
Mark.
that. I need to get a copy of
And
that.
thank you for the efforts of going through that during the time that we were going through that storm event.
Again, if anybody has public comment, we don't want to keep you here.
No, I got it.
but We do have to finish up this.
Or I'll give it to you.
Courthouse Annex Project, John Graves. We're going to talk about the courthouse annex over here. We bought the bank over here and we're renovating it, making it turn to office space. And John is overseeing the project.
So John, where are we at so far?
Well, we've got a lot of concrete missing out of the floor right now. The plumbers have done all the concrete excavation that they need to do, I think, to start the plumbing. My carpenter has submitted some bills to get some materials and pay some labor, and he'll be starting shortly. I got a kind of a quasi quote from Terry Gillis for the floor tile. Doesn't include the bathrooms yet. And I got a verbal quote from a painting contractor, but he wouldn't put anything down in writing because it's way too early for that. And I've got 3 things that I don't have quotes for that we need to probably try to figure out a budget for. One is the electronic portion of that, the internet, that kind of thing. EAS has been there, and looked at it, but no walls yet, so it's kind of hard to figure out what we're going to do with that. The second thing would be the entrance to the soil
The back door.
back door. The back door is quoted and ready to go. They're preparing materials for that. But what Architectura calls out for that and what we need are completely 2 different things. So I'm not sure what your agreement is with Architectura, but I have no agreement with Architectura, and so as long as I have your blessing, I'm going to do as I see fit.
I think really what I have a meeting with you and our commissioners and go over this would be better, really, and talk more about this. And let us look this over, and then this week we'll get together. You available this week?
I am some. We're getting ready to pick grapes, and we're putting nets on vines right now. So.
Is there any way you guys can meet this week somewhere in the middle, Wednesday or Thursday? I mean, it is the middle. Today's Tuesday, so a Thursday time or.
I've got we have the solid waste meeting tomorrow morning. If he's available, we could meet after it.
Could you do here in the morning, Brett? Or do we have to advertise if this informational meeting together?
If you're just receiving information from your own people, you don't have to.
Would that he classify as that?
Maybe.
Okay.
It's up to you. How much risk do you want to incur?
None.
Zero.
None. I've been shot at too many times. Sounds like that have to be something maybe Friday. You may be available Friday.
Yeah, my calendar doesn't come up on that.
Friday might be a day we can meet.
I could probably do Friday in the morning or the afternoon, but there's no way Mom will let me out of that kitchen or
understand.
the restaurant between the hours about 10:30 and
Yeah, that's
10:03.
I gotta pay for more storage.
I do too. So when you get done with it, you can do mine too.
Just send me a text or an email, and I could probably make some work. Give me a
Well,
day's notice
Friday in the afternoon would be better for you, or early morning?
or morning.
I think I'm free all day Friday, I think. Or I don't have anything scheduled.
I could do either way. I mean, if you guys want to do something like at 9 o'clock in the morning on
Do
Friday.
Friday at 9 a.m. Would that give us enough time to do a notice? John, would be okay?
If you can get your 48 hours notice anyhow.
Friday would be 9 a.m. We're plenty good shape.
Okay.
Let's do it that way.
All right.
Let's just take us all back and we'll meet Friday morning, talk about it. I think we
Okay.
would be better than get together and talk face
All
to
right.
face about
Sure,
that.
Friday morning, 9 a.m. here?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
What are we gonna be talking about?
About the project and the funding, the everything.
Well, the biggest concern right now is the difference between what Architectura wants for the soil, the back of the soil, the back of the building and the soil entrance, and what is practical.
So there's not any, this isn't bids or anything like this, so it's not an executive session, right? It's,
No, I don't have any bids. I've got one contractor that's looking at it, but no bids.
okay.
You got a sheet with what he
Well, I
provided.
saw that, but we've not, we'll go over that.
We'll talk about it Friday.
Friday.
What Architectura wants and what needs to be done are two different things.
Understood.
We can talk about it then.
Okay.
Good discussion. Thank you
Thanks,
very,
John.
very much.
Yep.
Tax management, I don't see no,
Thank you.
I don't see
This
page
was-
here tonight.
Yeah, this is what she brought to us last meeting.
What did she end up
I think she still wants to.
do the entire?
I still think she wants to do the entire county, or at least that's my recollection. I spoke to her afterwards, and I spoke to some other counties. I don't have any problem approving this entire thing tonight.
Did we not already do this once, 2 years ago?
Mm-mm. No.
Probably
That
a
was a
something
different situation.
yeah.
A different situation we had. That was one individual.
I thought we had gone through the same thing with the whole county, not an individual, but a whole county thing. The only concern I have is just the amount of cost there is versus, I guess this is every year we get that money back after this, so
Yeah.
that's where it accumulates.
Yeah. Well,
So
like
I don't have a problem with this agreement.
Okay. If there's no other discussion, I'll make a motion to approve the Tax Management Associates proposal for the, I can't even think, for the assessor, there we go. Good Lord, I couldn't even think of it.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion.
Yeah, I want to make, as soon as this becomes anything targeted, not just a
Yeah.
countywide thing, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
But as soon as it becomes a targeted event for
Yeah.
whatever reason,
Well, that's the only way it could be done.
Not be very happy with this type of agreement.
I agree.
Ready for the vote? I am anyway.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. County Highway Organization Engineer Agreement, we are in agreement with Park County to have a shared engineer. We're still working on it, get some technicalities worked out, and we should, I think, in the next probably 2 months, that will be finalized. The date of implement will be then decided, but right now we don't have that date, so.
This
You guys
agreement,
looked at the interlocal agreement yet?
I haven't read all of it.
It's not for us, I mean, it's a previous agreement.
Yeah,
between
it's from
Hamilton
another county, just to kind of mirror off of.
Whether we want to do, we can change any part of it.
Yeah. I haven't read all of it yet. I still need to go over it and look through it.
We got another meeting coming up too, so. Anyway, that's where that's at. Regulatory open burn ordinance 2023 to
We done
2025.
we done a first reading of this last meeting, I believe.
2 meetings ago.
2 meetings ago. Thank you, Mark. I'm getting old and I can't remember certain things.
All 26 years old.
No, way too much.
27. We're 1 year off. If nobody has any comments or edits to the ordinance from the first reading, I'll make a motion to approve County Ordinance 2023-5, an ordinance of the Board of the Commissioners of Vermillion County, Indiana, regulatory open burning.
I did have a few comments though. I'll second the motion so we can go to discussion anyway.
Sure.
If I get down to it, I will. Oh, shoot. John, you had a chance to go through this, did you have any issue with it?
No, there's nothing wrong with it.
I think what I have is just more language issue, or just spelling. There's only a couple of those. Yeah, there it is. A couple of the issues I have wasn't just spelling, but when it says permit for fire departments, our fire departments I don't think are set up to do any type of permitting. Do we need to redefine that or help them in some way to provide them with a model permit or something to that effect?
We could do that if you want to.
If we're going to put the onus on them to approve something, I think we need to give them the balance of a way to approve these things, or what the parameters might be if they approve something, so that they're not hanging out there without some type of information. And you might know this, Mark. It says asbestos. I know there's in the burn law, there's a certain materials that have to be done in order to take off. Asbestos is one of them, but I thought the list was more than just asbestos.
I don't know, I haven't seen this ordinance for like 6 weeks now, but I thought it's just for woody vegetation, and not for construction materials. I'm pretty sure that's the way it reads.
It says all allowable open burning shall conform to this section unless exempt by the Board of Commissioners, state law, or federal law, and then it goes on to list 5 or 6 line items, of which one is asbestos.
I think, Mark, what you're referring to, it says wood products under section D means material consisting of wholly delivered from wood or vegetation.
Right. It's
Would be
not
the
like
only,
throw your couch or your dishwasher on there type stuff.
just the wood and the vegetation.
Yeah. That's not legal to burn anyway, so.
Very true.
Well, I'm not sure, is that going to be true that section 5, John, is going to not be of any consequence? Why do we even have section 5 in here if it's of no consequence, I guess? General requirements. It says all shall conform to this, but then it just starts, and it does list this, so I think if we're going to, either we should be silent on what it is and just defer to state law, or it needs to have a complete list of what that is, or should have.
And again, this came from other counties. I just downloaded stuff and I was in Warren County or something like that.
I would say it's up to you, it's just personal preference, how you guys want the ordinance to read.
Well, unless we're going to list all the banned things, I'd like just to be silent and defer to state law, basically, or state statute. So if we can modify that, there's some spelling things, obtained to order reach. And another spelling, just instead of retraining, it'll be restraining, and that's it. Thank you.
So you want to take out section?
We can approve it, but I want to not take it out, but I want to take whatever materially is spelled out of that section. So if it lists asbestos, then it should be removed and just refer to state law,
Okay.
state statute.
John, is it all right that I amend my motion to include Britton's thing, or can we just do that without amending it, or?
Yeah, I mean, again, I've said it before, there's not a formal rule.
Okay.
If it's obvious what you three are agreeing.
Yeah, I'm in agreement to that. So
Asbestos is the only thing I see in here that's actually spelled out, so.
Sure.
If we can just remove that specific material, then I think we're in good. So I'll second your motion with the
Yep.
removal in section 5 of the specific
Yep.
materials.
Call for a vote.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Appreciate you doing it.
Thanks, Mark.
Improvement Fund allocation flyer, I made my recommendation. Did anyone turn this back in with the corrections, or who was taking care of it?
So, in the flyer, I don't think they ever took churches completely out of it. Ain't that right, Kylie? And then what you got from...
That was my input.
Yeah,
To not have the churches excluded from the funding.
I don't know. She's
If it hasn't been turned back in, it's fine, but
No, I think Dale's response was that they never restricted them in the beginning, that they took it from our general comments when they first met with us, that we said we wanted them left with the availability.
Yeah, they put it on the flyer.
so is this here the revised copy here we have?
And it should include churches on there.
It says see additional information with possible exceptions, so it must be down in the fine print then.
Dale White. Yeah, it's... Oh, here you go. It's the third. It's the third one right here.
Yeah, I see it.
You got it? May apply for program
Okay.
funding. Yep.
You guys,
I don't have any other updates to it. I think they've done a phenomenal job, and I think whenever we give them the green light, they're ready to go live with it, is my understanding.
I thought you already had.
I think they were waiting on if we had any last minute corrections, so if you guys don't have any objections, we can ask Kylie to email Dale and tell him to go for it. Everybody? All right.
that's fine.
Thank you.
Miscellaneous county properties and classifications, I haven't did any more research on that.
Okay.
I should, but I
I
haven't yet.
started.
It's just something, let's just table that and keep,
Yeah,
till
if I
we
have
come.
a question now. When I enter these numbers in GIS, they don't show up, and without a
So
better
some of those,
descriptions.
what is it? Is it the 999 numbers? Do you know, or pay? Some of these are, what's the word I'm looking for?
They're older numbers that may have received newer numbers.
So when you type them in, they won't show up, but the assessor, I assume, page has an idea where they're at. But when you go to search them, it says parcel not found or address not found. But I think it's the ones with the bunch of nines in them. So don't necessarily waste your time looking at those, because I think it's just gonna. I think that's the way the assessor keeps track of them, knowing that those are those different ones.
We just I need more time, I haven't had time.
That's fine, I just
But,
need to know how we find them, because it wasn't coming up.
But I think that's the only ones you should have trouble with, are the 999 ones.
I'm gonna get in contact with assessor on it.
I will. I was on the yellow ones too, the non-99. I don't
Well,
think
then-
they're 99s.
Well, then
They're
I
not
don't.
showing up either.
Then I would call Paige and ask, or if you got a contact for the GIS person, which I can't think of that guy's name right now.
I understand, yeah.
Moving on.
Thanks.
Vermillion County Bicentennial, has there been any traction on that, Brett, as far as?
No, I kinda gave up. Nobody seems to be, the only comment I got that somebody says too much money. That's the only comment. I was looking at 50,000 over a year's time, and doesn't seem to be too much money.
Maybe we could scale it down. We need to have something, but I don't think we probably have the volunteers to do what probably.
Well,
what would be best.
has anybody sent anything out to just maybe the all county email list and just see if there's anybody that maybe wants to help spearhead this? I'm not necessarily in agreement with maybe 50,000, but I do think we need to spend some money, celebrating the.
I think Britain's done that. You sent out something.
Did you
there.
send something? No.
You haven't?
Just here in the meetings all.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe send some out in the all county email and ask them to share it with
Yeah.
family, friends. Maybe there is somebody out here that would really like to.
I haven't received any, nobody seems to be too enthused about it. So,
I'm very much enthused about it. I'm limited in what I can
Brenda,
do.
can't you do another thing? No,
Too many things.
I think Becky said she'd volunteer. Where's she? Oh, there she
I think I
is.
seen an email that said no. I think I seen an email she said no, absolutely.
Becky, I added to that email, by the way. Just a word or two here and there.
Just bring it up the next meeting and see if something materializes between now and then, and we'll adjust it as far as how many people participate. We're going to do something. If you and I, or us three guys got there and hold up a banner or something, but no, I mean
I'll do it. I'll hold up my end of the banner.
Put
We're
a
the same.
48-hour notice for a parade of the three commissioners.
You can go to the council and see if you can get some money.
Well, there's no use getting money if there's not.
Nobody gonna-
It just doesn't seem like there's involvement, so, or anybody, I just, nobody's said, oh, yes.
Well, let's just
do
let it
something.
set and see if something comes out of it, and then we'll approach it then, that's all I can
Yeah.
say. Announcements, county festivals and events, Wabash River Run is coming up. It's been a great event, first time that the Wabash River's been utilized for a event. The first year we started, we had 25 canoes and kayaks. Last year we had 50 canoes, 50 kayaks and mix of canoes. This year we were hoping we'll have 100. And this is going to be eventually, everything starts small and eventually it grows. I think it's going to be a big event for our county, a big event for Park County. Last year we raised about $13,000 for the Park Humane Shelter. And this year we'll probably be doing about the same. So if anyone wants to participate in that, that'll be August 26th. It will be at the boat ramp in Montezuma to the Clinton boat ramp. So good event. Also we got Newport Hill Climb coming up, 29th to October the 1st, and we have the Lillet Festival September 1st through 4th. So. And also I want to make a comment, we will be having a public meeting on the issue with the well sequestering. I'm being in contact with our zoning and others, and hopefully within a week we'll have a public meeting somewhere so everyone can voice their concerns and hopefully have some people in that had something to do with that decision making, and some with the future of what's going on. And then a big thing about it is everybody needs to know more information. I think so many times things come out and misinformation comes out on both sides. And I think that by doing this we'll have some more clarity. Everyone will have some more clarity on this. So I will inform you of that here in the next couple of days. With that being said, any commissioner have anything else to say? And then we'll go to public comment.
I say no now, but then before we close, no, I'm done.
You can still.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything.
For some of you haven't spoken and you're here tonight, I assume that you wanted to speak, and please do so if you're interested.
Got 1 minute.
Hey, there you go.
We're doing good. Council last night was 2.5 hours.
It was funny. I was here and I thought, man, they're gonna have theirs in an hour. I'll be out here. And that
No,
didn't happen.
Hi, Travis Newman, and talking on the issue of the carbon, what they call wells, but that's a different thing. So on that Senate Enrolled Act 451, it became Public Law 53, and what I want to comment too is how that applies to all the county. It's not just an issue for Clinton Township and around Universal. It's because as it reads, it's a pilot project. It's not, from what I know, and I haven't dug into it enough, but the pilot project is being defined by the state, by these acts. So in this, it's giving them the operator, the construct, operate, or use not more than 2 carbon dioxide pipelines. So the next section is maintain operations in Vigo and Vermilion counties. So that's the whole county. It's not just, and it's inject, section D is inject the carbon dioxide underground through 1 or more injection wells. So it's open to more. Right now, it's the EPA is permitting 2 wells, but in the future, because Vermilion County is excluded from all the other legislation that protects and keeps zoning local, then it's open, the whole county is open to more carbon capture and sequestration. And it would be nice to see, because last night there was a meeting at the Universal Town Hall with Senator Braun's field director, and there were 60 people there that came that were concerned.
That was kind of, I don't think people know where to direct themselves. Dowd coming down with Braun's office, that's federal people, that have something to do with the EPA, but the whole base, the EPA just approved the process.
They approved they permit the well. It's not the pipeline either.
Yeah.
So, people don't know, and that's the thing.
I'm saying, I'm just gonna say it's more of a state, we need to be addressing more to the state.
Sure,
than
so
federal.
should we get a town hall and get the state
That's what-
reps?
that's what I'm
and
planning
that
on doing.
have crafted this legislation? Can we request them to come and explain to the people how they came to this conclusion that
Yes.
this is good for Vermillion County?
Yep. I made that comment at the open meeting the other day, that was my objective.
Because I'm sure the people have a lot of questions how they came to that, because there was no communicate. All it's been is the EPA communicating to people with a very haphazard notification of mailings. I've heard people saying well, I know one who lives in Vermillion County now, and he lived in New Goshen, and then the notice went to his old address. And that's how he got notice. From his old, so he was in both sides.
That notice that went out to them went out to us at the same date. It came to the county at the same date that was sent out to them. So.
A lot of people in Universal were sent letters to people that were deceased 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And their name isn't on the property. How does that happen?
So as this process goes forward, I could see how Senator Braun could be a good asset to have to try to get him with his office to, if the EPA approves, then if he, to help work people through the appeal process with the EPA, because there is a process to that. So it'd be really good if we could somehow get more contact with his office.
I could contact his office direct. I know who was over there last night. I mean, I dealt with him quite
So
a
that
while.
would be a good thing to try to get into the
Okay.
county.
We have two senators,
Braun
it's
and
not
Young.
just Braun.
Young.
Get hold of him too.
No, I will
That's
keep
all
you,
I've got.
I'll keep you
Appreciate
informed
it.
of what I find out and put out public on your Facebook page, and so you can know. So,
The processes we have to go through, I've had to go through in the past, this seems to kind of short circuit some of the things that I've had to go through whenever we're trying to get permits and whatever for either federal or state projects for that matter. This seems to be pretty expedited.
anybody else got anything to say?
Clayton Sanguinetti again. So one thing I'm wanting to do, and I've talked to some people here in the courthouse, I'm wanting to try to obtain the mineral rights underneath my property. They are deeded back in 1909 to Archibald Cummins. I'm sure nobody could really find any of these deeds, but they've been laying there probably forever, and they've got a bunch of back taxes on them, I'm sure. I would like to be able to acquire them with a clean slate on the taxes and start paying taxes on them mineral rights, just so a company like Wabash Valley can't swoop in and grab the mineral rights. My property has never been stripped. I'm right on the borderline of the stripped mines, and I don't know how to go about something like that. I've talked
State
to the
law,
assessor, and
if the taxes haven't been paid on them in the last 20 plus years, I think it's 20 years. Anyway, state law already addresses that they revert back to the surface owner. You might have your attorney, if you have an attorney, have the attorney check on that, but I don't know that you have to go through any processes unless somebody already owns the mineral rights and has maintained those mineral rights. With that, then they've already been sold and you bought the property accordingly. But if they've been not used or not kept up over the years, then I think it's 20 years. State law has already been passed to revert those back. So unless something's changed since the last 10 years here.
Okay, so I could have an attorney look into all that and go, what about if there's $8,000 back taxes owed on them?
There's no taxes owed by the property owner. It should just revert back to you, and you don't pay for your own mineral rights until they are determined to be viable anyway.
Okay. I just want to kind of protect them because I know they're laying there. I know somebody.
Check with your attorney though, and there's probably nuances to that somebody can get around or whatever. So, but make sure you check with an attorney that understands mineral rights. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to find somebody too, and and there's not a whole lot of attorneys on mineral rights around the area.
Do you know, John, from your pocket, that what the mineral rights rules are? Okay.
A lot of times, most of the time, most people's mineral rights are already sold to somebody else, most times.
Well, these are deeded to Archibald Cummins in 1909, and there's no record that I could find of myself or anybody in the recorder's office or assessor's office that they have been reverted or willed over or went to heirs. But I just want to have protection of them. I mean, I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if a company like Wabash Valley Resources can come in and pull them. You know what I mean? It's just a peace of mind for me. So.
Like I said, you have to get an attorney, someone specialized in that.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll work on that for sure.
You also probably do a search on the internet to see what comes up on that. But that's what I recall. I know that it's assessor and recorder were wanting to do that a couple of years ago, look back at owning mineral rights, and I provided them the statutes at that time that addressed mineral rights, because they were thinking about the same thing, about there's an assessed value for these mineral rights and so forth. But anyway, I just know it exists, don't know all the nuances of it.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Come on up. Here's your chance. Or if you want to talk to me afterwards, it's fine. We'll talk to one of us over here.
You don't want to stay at the hour, do you?
Hour and 10 minutes.
Anyone else?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.